All right, so we're gonna talk about a few things in here at the end of this game. One is a bunch of stuff on this true pad because I meant to cover it in the previous video and it happens in here as well. So we're gonna do that, as well as this Bauer 2-piece Hyperlite blocker because something happens in here that I remember to talk about as well. So we're gonna talk about those at the end of the game. And for this game itself, this is against a team that always finishes either first or second in this division. Before this Leafs team came in here and just dominated everyone, they were always basically first, and I think so this year they came like second in the overall of the division. So they're always a really good team to play against. They have a couple guys that are pretty good, and then they have a couple guys that played Junior C like a few years ago, which isn't a huge like super high level or anything, but this isn't high level hockey. So when you're playing like Junior C and you come down to like this level beer league, they can kind of play around with people a bit, and they always don't take it so seriously. So it's always a challenge from my end because you don't know if to play the shot or if you don't know to play the pass because they might just want to set people up. So we'll see how this turns out at the end, but this is a big challenge for this Phantoms team, and we'll see how it ends up. And you want to support the channel, and you need a base layer and a protective, kind of supportive base layer that helps protect your growing as well as your hips. Check out the Konekt. This is the Pro 1.0 pant, so this one is not quite as restrictive, and this is kind of tight right here in this X pattern. You might have seen these as Under Armour before, or Bauer for the hockey specific ones. There's also the Core 3.0, which is a lot stiffer, as you can see. Really helps protect my growing and keeping it kind of in place and make sure it doesn't overstretch itself. There's a discount code, and you click the link in the description. Use that discount code to get a discount off, help support myself, as well as get you some pretty awesome base layer pants that really do help with injury prevention and help stabilize your core while playing. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel without buying anything, check out links in the description to Patreon, buy me a coffee. Everything through there comes, again, back into the channel so I can make more content and doing real reviews.
Y'all ready for this? Ball, ball, ball.
So as you can see, surprising outcome on our end of things, and we did pretty good and managed to hold our own. And I have to say, we were very outshot on this game a lot, and we were outplayed a lot. But that's expected because the talent level here is kind of different, and this is one of the better teams in the league, and we're not one of the better teams in the league. But everyone battled it as much as they could, and it ended up getting like a good result out of it. You could see their goalie's frustration after, I think, one of the goals where he like swatted it away. It might have been the third or second or third, I can't remember. But like that kind of shows because we had probably 8 shots at that point and we scored 2 goals or something. So it's kind of rough on their end, but that's kind of what happens when teams dominate, and like we happen to get like our chances are pretty decent when we get them, just because their D kind of like takes their foot off the gas and allows you kind of to do things that you might necessarily not be able to do. So for the goals here, the first one, I just got beat on a breakaway, and I always say I'm really bad on breakaways, and I just totally got beat here. I went for a stick play and missed it 100%. And like I never even, you watch the video, you don't really even see me try to push off with the left leg. So it was just bad all around, and yeah, it wasn't a good one. The second goal, like I never saw this puck come from behind the net. It slid out, and you can see me like recognize it at the last second when it's already on the person's stick. So with all that traffic and stuff, I never knew where the puck was going. I kind of heard it and saw other people's reactions of where it was going. By the time I got ready for it, well, by the time I noticed where the guy was and when he had the puck, he basically shot it, and so I couldn't really move on it. I just tried to react, and I couldn't react fast enough. I didn't push out. I was like on my goal line because I was playing that jam play and everything. So it's one of those plays where like I don't know what I would really ever do differently, and I really wouldn't, just because like you don't see where the puck goes, you can't really track it and follow it. So it's just kind of one of those broken plays that end up not working for you. But overall, I played really good here. Made a couple good glove saves, made a bunch of like saves. Don't have a lot to complain in that sense, and I was pretty happy with myself. So a few things on here that I want to call out is you could see them try to jam low pad a lot on here, and specifically in the third period, there's guys coming in like short side, and I cover post pretty good in RVH. So people always say RVH is used too much and it's like a bad play and it's overused, people should stop using it. I'm 6'3" off skates, so me and RVH, I generally can cover a lot of the net, and I do that a lot. Regardless of the level of player you're playing against, like guys who played in the OHL, guys who played nowhere, and like this league, people tend to gravitate towards short side crossbar. Unless you have height and unless you have good technique, they can score on that pretty easy. And with me, I have height, so I can just jam my body up against that post and I can cover that pretty well. And the previous video, we saw a couple guys taking shots on there and just getting my shoulder and stuff. They go there a lot, and it's a really nice shot if you get it in, and it's an annoying save because it can hit parts that aren't protected. So a lot of people shoot there a lot, and that's kind of the case here. But as you could see here, I think these guys kind of know, I've played against them a lot, that generally speaking, I'm covering that. But they shot low and they tried to jam. And one of the things with RVH, especially if you're leaning into it hard, if you hit a post hard and you kind of lean over, there can be some gaps, specifically in the pad, because you're leaning on the pad like this and it tilts, and this part can kind of open up. So I don't know if they saw that that was open, but multiple people in this game tried to go like low pad here, and that was issues with my GRZ Fusion pads where if you do lean into this, it really comes off. This pad, I showed it in the video, it does not cause a gap. So even if you lean like totally, there's never a big enough mark here, or I should say gap here, for this pad to really allow a puck in. And that was kind of the case here where they tried to jam there and it just hit my pad and nothing happened to it. So it's a big kind of call out to these pads for how good they are. The other part of that is this thigh rise is awesome. So even if this is the soft pad, which this is like the softer version of the pad, you can see it's skinnier here compared to the retail one. I talked about that in the review. This thigh rise does an awesome job, and I meant to call it out the last video too, of just stopping pucks. Even though that this is softer, I personally, when it happens, can see the pad bend and flex, but the pucks still stay out and it does a good job. There was 2 plays here where the puck straight up hit the thigh rise and my stick was in the right spot, thigh rise was in the right spot, hit the thigh rise, kept it out. One of the plays, I had a really tiny butterfly in it because the guy was in close and he just shot, so I just dropped. So plays like that are like what makes this pad pretty solid and how good this thigh rise design is and how it does make a difference. We will see with my eFlex 6 review for pads of where I don't think those would have been stopped in this case. And I had examples of kind of plays like that when I was demoing them. Nice, very great things for the PX there. Next thing we're talking about is this 2-piece Hyperlite blocker. And you can see me take a puck off of basically right here. Actually, I think it was right here because there's still kind of a puck mark on there. And I was like, wow, that like hurt. How did that hurt? I was surprised it got around the paddle wedge, but it did because I always use the paddle wedge because it's fantastic. And it hit right here and I was like, man, that hurt. That wasn't great. And there's actually a puck mark like right here. So it was probably did get this little edge and hit right here. The difference between this 2-piece Hyperlite, which was a huge downgrade, okay, it was a little downgrade. It's still a great blocker, but it was a downgrade compared to this, which is the 1X. So you can see that thumb piece and how it digs down more and it covers more. So you can barely see that index finger part, right? So you have multiple levels of coverage on here where this one you only have one. I think they did this to really open up this piece so you can kind of move it more. One of the goalies that was a big user of this glove was Cam Ward. And Cam Ward came from old Vaughn, I think Epic 8800 gloves. And this whole side piece was a lot more rounded and soft and this was more open. So you can see Cam Ward using this before I think anyone else. Pretty sure he had a 1X, or if it wasn't a 1X, it was definitely a 2S Pro with this design on it when other people were still using this one. So they still had that teeth piece on there, so you got a little bit extra. This is not as good as what this is, and this will open it more so you can kind of tilt the glove down more, but this is way more protective and overall a better design. So I was disappointed with this blocker and that they did this. I should do a review on this to kind of talk about it. Now there's 2 lines of this, well, versions of Hyperlites. I got this one kind of late, so I didn't jump on that right away, but this one was definitely overall a better glove in everything than what this one was. So maybe we'll talk about that. If you want to see me review this whole thing and do like a whole actual review of the 2-piece, let me know and I'll do it. But the problem with this is they changed this stuff a lot, and without, like, this was obviously based on, well, this is a 1X cuff. It's the same design as this, but with features from the Mach, I think. No, ultrasonic. So it was basically like ultrasonic materials. So it's kind of tough because they changed how the palms and stuff are based on the version. So I don't know which version it is now without me ordering. I'm not going to order another one of these. But if you want to see me review it, let me know in the comments. And maybe I'll do that, a really quick one. I don't do a whole thing, but just talk about it pretty quickly.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.